speakers. Member for Drysdale.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to discuss on lowering the age. I believe in this chamber I may have the most experience working with children. As a residential youth worker, and I don't speak for all residential youth workers, but I do know a lot of who work directly with children on the floor, and that is all my experience as well. I'd have this chamber know too that my time in resi care, I worked with solely extreme and complex male youth, and I can assure you it was anything but a picnic. Some of the crimes that I would see very regularly with the boys in my care included armed robbery with an axe, assault causing grievous bodily harm committed at school with a much younger victim as well, aggravated assault on a carer. I've also seen a male youth beat a woman, a girl, a classmate of his, knocking teeth out of her skull. The idea put forth that the children aren't capable of harm, and very serious harm, and that the CLP just wish to lock innocent children up is just very ingenuous, because there is very serious crimes that are committed and there are victims of these crimes. Marion Scrimgeour herself said, "We've got to stop pussyfooting around here and thinking that these kids are going and they're being taken home to a responsible adult, because in a lot of these cases, there isn't a responsible adult there, and the reality is these kids don't listen." Part of that statement is very true and is very different to what we're hearing today from Labor. The kids will listen if they know there's going to be a consequence that follows, and that is just inherently part of human nature. If they know they can get away with things, they will. I'd also like to quote the previous Labor Minister, Con Vascalis, who is also my old soccer coach. "These kids know, and they think they have immunity. Don't tell me that a 10-year-old kid does not know right or wrong. If they don't know what is wrong, why do they cover their face when they commit a crime?" I think that's a very powerful line. Why do they cover their face when they commit a crime? It speaks at the heart of knowing that what you are doing is wrong and you seek to get away with it. Youth workers, I have immense respect for youth workers throughout the country. It is an incredibly tough job, and they don't do it because of the system, they do it in spite of the system. That I can assure you. Leader of the opposition, I have been to many detention facilities because for a lot of the time I was the only one who actually cared to visit. No parent would visit, no family would visit, and on my weekends off, I would literally be the only one who had the care to go and visit a child in detention. That is the heartbreaking reality of life for some of these children. I'd also like to explain when you are on shift at a residential care facility what it can be like. Dealing with, and I can only speak from my experience with young men or young male youth, it can be very violent, it can be very aggressive. You are dealing with, at sometimes, rather strong boys, for such a young age. And I admit the environment has made them so. There is still good in these kids, and this chamber must know that. This bill seeks to intervene early before the streets continue the damage and the environment continues the damage on these young people that it does. When I was on shift, the only form of escalation you actually had was police. There is nothing you can do. You can try to divert behaviours, but once they reach a certain point, your only option is police, both for your safety and the child's safety, and the safety of the other children in the care. If that is robbed, I don't know what a youth worker would do when they are being threatened. I've been threatened with knives. Like, it gets real. It just simply does. And if they know that there is no consequence to that, then I don't know how they keep safe. There's like a serious duty of care issue there. Unfortunately, I feel ideology has blinded reality as well. Because in my electorate, youth crime is a very serious problem. We hear of studies and evidence base. I would like to know how many of these were conducted in the electorate of Drysdale. How many of these studies reflect data collected in Grey, in Driver, and in Gun, and what the impact of raising the age has had, not just on the crime rate, but actually on the social outcomes of these children. Optional diversion, to me, just highlights the complete lack of experience that the opposition has in this area. To think that you can have optional diversion when, I can assure you, getting these kids sometimes just out of bed to engage in daily activities of hygiene, like that can be an impossible order some days. So it speaks to just the lack of experience in the harsh realities at the extreme end of this problem. I have a deep care for youth issues. I sincerely do. And it is why I also back this bill, because I really believe government is a blunt instrument, and I don't like it as a tool for social intervention. But with some of these children, it is the only thing left that seems to care. And we must intervene early for the sake of the child. And that is what we are putting forward to this chamber. It is we are trying to intervene in a child's life because the environment and the social environment they live in, no one else cares. I think it is very disingenuous to say that we are locking children up. We are trying to intervene to get the best outcome for a child early.
Okay, cease interjections.
I'd like to now also share a personal story, which some may know, and it had a big part of me being in this chamber today. So over a year ago, I was at the markets with my family, the Palmerston markets, and I was walking my wife and two daughters back to the car, who were, I believe, 3 and 4 at the time. This is when a large youth gang fight broke out that included weapons, there was throwing of rocks, and my wife, with our youngest, who was just 3, had to hide under a table with a market stall owner. And as me and my oldest, who were 4, were caught quite literally in the middle of it, and all I could do was wrap around her as a father. It was the follow-on, I guess as a youth worker too, this scenario wasn't new to me, but it was new to have my family involved. There were 2 police officers who arrived, and I spoke to them after, because there were no arrests made and no charges laid. And the police just said, there is nothing we can do. They know the kids, and they're under the age of criminal responsibility. So therefore, the most they could do would be to take the ringleaders home to parents who simply do not care, and they'll be back here within half an hour. And so that is also why I'm here. I'm here because I will not let other children become victims. I accept that these children are victims of their social environment. I completely accept that. I completely accept that fact. What I refuse, Deputy Leader of the Opposition, is that my children will become victims, or any other children in my electorate will become victims, because you set an environment for their failure. You ask what the root causes of crime are. They are your failures. That is a failed health system. It is a failed economy because people do not have work. You have failed these children in every facet of government that you have enacted over the last 8 years. That is the root causes of crime. You have failed them, and now we in this chamber, we must pass this bill to protect all children of the Territory because you failed them. That is the root causes of crime. It is the face of Labor's failure. You have caused poverty. Yes, intergenerational trauma. Let's discuss that. My daughters now every Friday ask what is going to happen at the Palmerston markets because they were the victims of crime. So that is the trauma. That is the trauma in my family. So you can sit here and you can say what you will, but the trauma is now spreading to our whole society. We seek to put an end to that, and we will put an end to that today.
Calm down.
Now, this will mean a lot to the businesses also in our electorate. To Driver Asian Supermarket, Grey's Shops, Mail It Out Takeaway, the Red Cross Shop, Salvation Army, Play Shack. To the Vinnie's Palmerston, Coles, Target and Terry White, who continue to be robbed on now a daily basis. This will allow some respite for both them as business owners, their staff and the whole Drysdale electorate. Thank you, Madam Speaker.